It was supposed to be an ordinary press briefing. Routine questions, standard answers, the kind of event that unfolded like clockwork in the bustling world of politics. Caroline Levit stood at the podium, her presence a familiar blend of calm and composure, honed through countless hours in the spotlight. The room buzzed with the predictable rhythm of journalists scribbling notes, typing furiously, and raising hands for their turn to speak. Overhead, fluorescent lights cast a clinical glow and the faint hum of cameras blended with the murmur of voices. It was business as usual, or so it seemed. No one could have predicted how swiftly that ordinary calm would fracture, leaving an indelible mark on everyone present. As the briefing neared its close, the atmosphere had softened. The tougher questions had been fielded, the sharper edges of debate dulled by repetition. It felt like the final notes of a familiar song, just a few more exchanges before the room would empty out. Caroline had answered the last question with her characteristic poise, offering a concise response about policy that left little room for follow-up. Hands began to lower, notebooks started to close. But then, piercing through the settling quiet, a reporter's voice sliced the air, sharp and dripping with sarcasm. "No cross today?" he asked, his smirk barely concealed beneath a veneer of professionalism. "Guess the faith was just a prop after all, huh?" The effect was instantaneous, like a stone shattering a still pond. Conversations halted mid-sentence, fingers froze above keyboards, the low hum of activity ceased. Heads turned, eyes widened. The air thickened with tension, a palpable shift that seemed to press against the walls of the room. Every gaze locked onto Caroline, waiting for her reaction. Would she falter? Would she snap back? The room held its breath, suspended in a moment that felt both fleeting and eternal. For a heartbeat, she didn't speak. Her face remained steady, betraying no hint of anger or surprise. The silence stretched, amplifying the weight of the question, and then, with a quiet, unwavering calm that seemed to anchor the chaos, she said, "Next question, please. That's irrelevant." Her voice was a lifeline, pulling the room back from the edge, but the reporter wasn't ready to let it go. He leaned forward in his chair, his posture aggressive, his tone rising with defiance and glee. "Irrelevant? I think it's pretty relevant. Looks to me like your faith was just for show all along, a nice little accessory to sell an image." A gasp rippled through the crowd, sharp, collective, electric. Whispers erupted like cracks spreading across glass, fracturing the silence. Journalists exchanged glances, some scribbling furiously, others staring in disbelief. The accusation hung heavy, its weight pressing down on the room. But Caroline didn't flinch. She didn't mirror his aggression with her own. Instead, she stood steady, her presence a quiet rebuke to his provocation. She let the moment linger, her silence more powerful than any immediate retort. Then she spoke. "Yesterday," she began, her voice measured and calm, cutting through the tension like a blade of light. "One of your colleagues approached me after a briefing. He suggested, politely I'll give him that I take off the cross I wear around my neck. He said it might be seen as political, a distraction from the issues we're here to discuss." She paused, letting the words settle. "He meant well, I'm sure, and so I told him what I'll tell you now. The cross I wear is not a political statement. It's not a prop, not a tool for anyone's approval or applause. It's an expression of my love for Jesus Christ. It's personal. It's sacred." The room grew quieter still. The whispers faded into a hush, the frenetic energy replaced by something softer, more attentive. Now they weren't waiting for a confrontation. They were waiting for her words, drawn in by the gravity of her tone. "I didn't wear it today," she continued, her voice steady but laced with, "Here's your rephrased passage with heightened emotional depth, sharper pacing, and stronger engagement while preserving the original length. With a subtle thread of emotion, not because my faith has changed or wavered, not because I'm hiding anything. I left it off because I wanted to show you and everyone watching that faith isn't something you wear. It's not a piece of jewelry you dangle for effect. It's how you live. It's about love. It's about truth. Her voice firmed into steel wrapped in velvet. And what's truly disgraceful, the room seemed to lean in, is you mocking that, taking something sacred and twisting it into a cheap shot. The silence that followed was absolute, a void so deep it swallowed every sound. Reporters lowered their pens, cameras dipped slightly, as if in reverence. Even the reporter who'd asked the question appeared momentarily stunned, his smugness dissolving into something closer to regret. His eyes flickered, unsure where to land. But Caroline wasn't finished. She took a breath, her gaze sweeping the room with quiet authority. "Faith," she said, her voice rising just enough to command attention, "isn't about symbols or appearances. It's not about impressing a crowd or winning a debate. It's about how you carry yourself, the choices you make every day, the way you treat others even when no one's watching. And it's certainly not something to be dissected or ridiculed in a press briefing meant for policy and governance." Her eyes met those of the reporters one by one, her strength drawing them in like a tide. "My faith doesn't live in a cross around my neck. It lives here." She placed a hand gently over her heart, a gesture simple yet profound. "It lives in the compassion I try to show, the integrity I strive to uphold, and the truth I choose to speak, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient. A necklace can be a reminder, yes, something deeply meaningful to me, but it is not the essence of who I am or what I believe." The force of her words was undeniable, a quiet power that reshaped the room. The silence held, but it was no longer tense, it was reverent. Reporters who'd entered with skepticism now sat with expressions of quiet reflection, their cynicism softened by the weight of her conviction. "What saddens me," Caroline continued, her voice softening into gentle sorrow, "is that we live in a time when faith in any form for anyone is so misunderstood, so easily dismissed or attacked. It's become a target, a punchline." She paused, letting the ache in her words settle. "And I feel sorry for those who tear it down, not out of anger, but out of pity. They've missed the point entirely. Faith isn't loud or ostentatious. It doesn't demand to be seen or applauded. It quietly sustains you. It gives you peace when the world around you is spinning into chaos. It gives you strength when people try their hardest to strip it away." She turned back to the reporter, her eyes locking onto his with piercing clarity. "You mocked something sacred to me, something deeply personal, something that anchors me. And yet you haven't shaken me. My faith remains as strong today as it was yesterday, and as it will be tomorrow. Because my faith isn't built on your perceptions or anyone else's. It's built on love, a love that doesn't bend or break under scrutiny. A beat. Then, quieter, but no less firm. And I'd encourage you to reflect on what you build your actions on. Words have power. They can tear down, as you chose to do today, or they can lift up. It's never too late to choose differently." She stepped back from the podium, her composure flawless, her posture a testament to resolve. "Shall we move on to the next question?" What followed was unprecedented. The room didn't erupt into outrage or chaos, as it might have in another context. Instead, a quiet admiration settled over the space. No follow-up jabs, no smug retorts, just silence and respect. The reporter sat back, his bravado spent, his notebook untouched. Others exchanged glances, not of judgment, but of recognition. They'd witnessed something rare. Grace under fire. A defense not of ego, but of principle. The impact of that moment didn't end when the briefing concluded. It didn't fade as journalists filed out, deadlines looming. It lingered, spreading. Beyond that room to everyone who heard her story through articles, clips, and whispered retellings. Because in a world where words are so often wielded as weapons, Caroline Levit had reminded everyone of their deeper power. To teach, to inspire, to heal. to unite. Her response became more than a rebuttal. It became a testament to resilience, a quiet call to look beyond the surface. People replayed her words, shared them with friends, debated them over coffee. Some saw it as a masterclass in dignity, others as a challenge to reconsider their own assumptions. But all agreed on one thing. This was a moment that transcended politics. And that's the enduring lesson her story leaves behind. True faith isn't about winning arguments or silencing critics. It's not about proving a point or claiming victory in a shouting match. It's about standing firm in your values, speaking your truth with grace, and showing the world, in actions as much as words, that what's in your heart will always matter more than what's around your neck. Caroline Levit didn't just defend her faith that day. She lived it, offering a glimpse of its quiet strength to a room and a world that too often forgets what that looks like.